doing 442 on the news with 40% Nigerian stories, 40% African stories, and 20% global stories. Now that's what I call a homegrown, heart-breaking goal! Go, 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 go! Yes. Go!
Here's the news on Africa Business Radio. First, the top stories. Nigerian Institution for Metallurgical, Mining and Materials says the Ajaokuta Steel Company can generate about 600,000 jobs. 524 road constructions ongoing across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. Somalia summons the Kenyan ambassador to Mogadishu to protest violation of its airspace. Tanker explosion hits Iranian tanker off the coast of Saudi Arabia. I am Olaiton Meadows with the details shortly. 524 road projects are currently ongoing in the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria, according to the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola. He disclosed this while addressing the House of Representatives Committee on Works, headed by Honorable Ahmed Burchi. Fashola said there were 4 multilateral funded road projects, 81 under the Presidential Infrastructural Development Fund, and 45 others being funded under the Sukuk Bond. However, he noted that the ministry was interested in constructing roads that will open up the economy and make business easier for everyone. He said Nigeria will get back on its feet if the government tarred the roads that connected ports to border cities. He added that a funding gap of 255 billion naira was required to ideally fund some of the road projects and stressed that 157 billion naira proposed in the 2020 budget allocation was inadequate. Fashola said 2.93 billion naira was pending in unpaid certificates under the multilateral funded projects, while 306 billion naira was the amount for unpaid certificates for completed road projects. The Nigerian Institution of Metallurgical, Mining and Materials has disclosed that the Ajaokuta Steel Company, when working in its full capacity, can generate about 600,000 jobs in the country. This was made by the institution's National Chairman, Engineer Dr. Ayodeji Adeyemo, during his investiture and public lecture as the new chairman of the association in Abuja. Adeyemo stated the importance of reviving Ajaokuta Steel Company because when about 600,000 jobs are generated, the economy will be better. It was made known that the Ajaokuta Steel Company was burdened by some outstanding infrastructural issues, and if the steel company is to resume operation, the federal government will have to address these issues. This is why the Russian firm's proposal to rehabilitate and maintain the steel mill was welcome. Former Nigerian President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo has called on the Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC) to invest in agriculture, particularly cassava, soybean, cowpea and plantain, to help Africa cut down annual food imports that is estimated at $50 billion. Chief Obasanjo spoke during the official inauguration of the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture (IITA) Kalambo Research Station in Bukavu, Democratic Republic of Congo, by the President Felix Tshisekedi. The research station is named the President Olusegun Obasanjo Research Station in honor of the ex-president, who is also the IITA Goodwill Ambassador. Given a short list of crops the government will invest in, he said the first crop to take is cassava, the second crop is soybean because it is very important for human nutrition and livestock. The next is cowpea and lastly plantain. If we invest in these crops, we will be able to reduce the $50 billion that Africa is spending strictly on importation of food. The latest internally generated revenue report released by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that all states in Nigeria generated the total sum of 691.11 billion naira between January and June 2019. According to the Bureau's report, the IGR generated by the 36 states and FCT rose by 94.2 billion naira, which is 15.7% when compared to the 596.91 billion naira IGR generated in 2018. The report also showed that 31 states and the Federal Capital Territory recorded growth in IGR, while 5 states recorded decline at the end of the first half of 2019. Details of the report showed that across the 36 states, Lagos generated the biggest IGR of 205.16 billion naira, representing 30% of the total state's IGR in half year of 2019. Rivers State ranked as the second biggest with an IGR of 75.9 billion naira. Other states among the top 10 states with the biggest IGR include FCT 38.5 billion naira, Delta 36.3 billion naira, Ogun 29.5 billion naira, Kaduna 22.4 billion naira, Akwa Ibom 20.4 billion naira, Ondo 19 billion naira, Kano 18.5 billion naira, and Cross River 16.7 billion naira. Gombe, Yobe and Taraba states recorded the lowest IGR of 2.08 billion naira, 2.2 billion naira and 3.27 billion naira respectively. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has won the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to achieve peace and international cooperation, and in particular for his decisive initiative to resolve the border conflict with neighboring Eritrea. The Nobel Committee said during its announcement that the coveted prize was also meant to recognize all the stakeholders working for peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia and in the East and Northeast African regions. Ahmed clinched a peace deal with Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki last year that ended 20 years of the no peace, no war stalemate between the two countries. According to Time, at least 70,000 people were killed since the border disputes began in 1998, 5 years after Eritrea gained independence from Ethiopia. Somalia summoned the Kenyan ambassador to Mogadishu to protest violation of its airspace amid soaring relations between the neighboring countries over a maritime border dispute. Lieutenant General retired Lucas Tombo was summoned by Somali State Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Abdulkadir Ahmed Keri Abdi, who handed him a protest note demanding an explanation over the said incident on October 5 when an aircraft flew from Nairobi directly to Kismayu without official permission from Mogadishu. Somalia strongly protests this violation and will not accept any encroachment on its air, sea and land borders, and calls on Kenya to respond to this breach while its troops stationed in the lower Juba region are part of the African Union mission in Somalia, reads the statement. Kenyan soldiers are part of the African Union Bank, AMISOM, mandated by the United Nations to combat Al-Shabaab terrorist group in Somalia. Mogadishu describes the action as a contradiction of all principles of good neighborliness and non-interference in the internal affairs of state. Some 20 baristas from major coffee shops, hotels and restaurants which serve Cameroonian coffee in the city of Yaoundé are undergoing training to perfect their craft. The 2-day strategic training taking place at Maison du Café in Yaoundé is organized by the National Cocoa and Coffee Board (NCCB) as part of its mission. According to the Director General of NCCB, Michael Ndopin, the board decided to organize the training following the disappointment after observing the coffee served in many joints were not of optimum quality. Ndopin said the board is poised to see into it that barristers serve only the best of Cameroonian coffee. He also noted that the training is going to be continuous, and when the barrister would have mastered their art, there could be a possibility of organizing a national competition. The Director General underscored the board will continue its work towards the promotion of local consumption of the country's commodities, cocoa and coffee. One of the trainers, Kenji Pascalin, an expert barrister with NCCB, told Cameroon Tribune that the training exercise will be intensive and practical. South Africa's Minister of Small Business Development is pushing a radical solution to last month's clashes between locals and foreigners over jobs, which is the outright banning of foreigners and banning them from jobs in the informal economy. A ban on migrant workers in salons, small shops and as street vendors will prevent recurring fights with locals competing for their jobs. He added that his department will check the laws and liaise with the cabinet, but they are going to be specific, like what they have done in Ghana, Zimbabwe, Angola and Botswana. But chairman of the African Diaspora Forum, Vusumuzi Sibanda, said the minister's suggestion is shocking and added that they are opposed to it because there is a violation of the constitution and it is not only cruel but inhumane. It means that people will be actually closed off from getting any means of survival and supporting their families, which is all what these people want, considering what they have run from in their countries. Anti-immigrant violence that swept South Africa in September left at least 12 people dead, most of them South African nationals. The violence prompted Nigeria to repatriate hundreds of its citizens, while Malawi repatriated at least 75. 2 missiles struck an Iranian tanker traveling through the Red Sea off the coast of Saudi Arabia, Iranian officials said, the latest incident in the region amid months of heightened tensions between Tehran and the U.S. There is no word from Saudi Arabia on reported attack, and Saudi officials did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Oil prices spiked by 2%. Iranian state television said the explosion damaged 2 storerooms aboard the unnamed oil tanker and caused an oil leak into the Red Sea near the Saudi port of Jeddah. The state-run IRNA news agency, quoting Iran's national Iranian tanker company, identified the stricken vessel as the Sabiti. That vessel last turned on its tracking devices in August near the Iranian port city of Bandar Abbas, according to data from marinetraffic.com. Iranian tankers routinely turn off their trackers as U.S. sanctions target the sale of Iran's crude oil. Lieutenant Pete Pagano, a spokesman for the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet overseeing the Mideast, said authorities there were aware of reports of this incident but declined to comment further. Google has removed from its App Store a mobile game that lets people role-play as a Hong Kong protester. The tech giant says the app violated a policy against cashing in on conflicts, and the decision was not the result of a request to take it down. A number of gaming companies have become embroiled in the Hong Kong protests. Many are reluctant to offend Chinese consumers, but they have also drawn criticism from gamers over free speech. The choice-based game Revolution of Our Times allowed users to play the part of a Hong Kong protester. Like real protesters, players could buy protective gear and weapons, but they could also be arrested and even extradited to China. Hong Kong's protest started in June against proposals to allow extradition to mainland China, a move many feared will undermine the city's judicial independence and endanger dissidents. The Chinese government has condemned the protest, and official media has often criticized companies overseas that appear to endorse them. That's the news on Africa Business Radio. For more stories, please log on to africabusinessradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at Africa Biz Radio, on Facebook and Instagram, Africa Business Radio. I am Olaiton Meadows.